Welcome back to the lab, where today we are talking about fetal circulation. Let's get a quick overview of this model before we dive into the fetal circulation. Here we have the placenta, the umbilical cord. We have various vessels inside, but we'll also be looking at the liver, the heart, and then these vessels within the abdominal cavity. Now, there are two things I really want you to remember. What is a vein? A vein, no matter where it is in the body, what color it is on a model or in a picture, is a vessel that brings blood to the heart. Remember, a vein brings blood to the heart. It's all about the direction of blood flow. An artery, therefore, no matter where it is or what color it's represented by, takes blood for away from the heart towards a different part of the body. On this model, we have these arrows, and these arrows are actually a really nice clue because you know for a fact if the arrows are pointing you towards the heart, you're looking at a vein. If the arrows are pointing away from the heart, you're looking at an artery. So what this means, big picture, is that because oxygenation happens at the placenta, veins will take oxygenated blood to the baby's heart, and arteries will take deoxygenated blood and waste products away from the baby's heart back to the placenta. Let's start our fetal circulation at the placenta. Oxygenation happens here. So what kind of vessel within the umbilical cord will take blood to baby's heart? Hopefully you're saying the umbilical vein. Okay, here we have that umbilical cord and the umbilical vein right here. You'll notice that the umbilical vein is red, and why is that the case? Well, what do colors mean when we're talking about the vasculature? Remember, colors only refer to the levels of oxygenation. So a red colored vessel in a model or a diagram, image in your textbook, whatever, just means that it contains oxygenated blood. A blue colored vessel just means it has less oxygenated or deoxygenated blood. Why does it make sense that that umbilical vein is oxygenated? Well, remember, it just came from the placenta, and the placenta is what oxygenates the blood. And the vein is taking blood to the baby's heart, and we need oxygenated blood to go into the baby's circulation. Once the baby is born, the umbilical vein will constrict and then become the round ligament of the liver. Now, after the umbilical vein, the vessel will continue and go through the liver. And this little passageway going through the liver is called the ductus venosus. So think of that word ductus, kind of reminds you of a duct or a passageway, and that's what it's doing. It's going through the liver. Venosus, because we're headed towards the heart. So recall that that term venosus kind of has that vein term in it, and that may help you there. Shortly after birth, the ductus venosus is going to constrict and then become the ligamentum venosum. Blood that is in the ductus venosus will then connect to the inferior vena cava, which we know by this point connects directly to the right atrium. Here you can see I've put a pipe cleaner through the first thing I'd like to talk about, and that is an opening called the foramen ovale. Now, if you recall from the skeletal system, a foramen is a bone feature and it describes an opening, and so we have this literal opening within the interatrial septum, which means that we have a direct connection from the right atrium to the left atrium. This allows oxygenated blood that comes into the right atrium to get shunted directly over to the left side of the heart. Shortly after the baby is born, the opening here, the foramen ovale, will start to close. There are several layers within the interatrial septum that kind of shut together just like this. And what we're left with is the remnant of that opening, and it closes up and turns into what we call the fossa ovalis. Also recall from the skeletal system that a fossa is a shallow depression, and that's actually what we see. We see this little shallow depression within the right atrium. Another neat passageway we have actually comes from the pulmonary trunk and the pulmonary arteries and connects directly to the aortic arch. And that little passageway is called the ductus arteriosus. Now, again, let's pause and think about that name. Ductus, because it's literally a little passageway. Arteriosus, because it is taking blood away from the heart. It kind of sounds like artery. The ductus arteriosus allows any oxygenated blood that goes into the right ventricle and then into the pulmonary trunk to get shunted directly to the aorta. So between that foramen ovale and the ductus arteriosus, oxygenated blood will make it to the aorta to be delivered to the rest of the baby's body. And approximately 10 to 15 hours after birth, that little passageway will constrict and it will become the ligamentum arteriosum. So kind of cool, tying in some things we learned a few weeks ago, at least for my students in the heart anatomy chapter, with fetal circulation. All right, let's now look at how deoxygenated blood, or blood with waste products, gets taken from the baby's body back to the placenta. So here we have the abdominal aorta. This right here is the right common iliac artery. This is the left common iliac artery. Now recall that whenever you have that word common in a name, it implies that you're going to have two or more other things that have that structure in common. So remember, let's just focus on the left common iliac artery right here. We will have an internal and an external branch off of that. The external branch is this little purple part right here. The internal branching is tucked away behind the ureter and the reproductive organs right here. And a branch off of that internal iliac artery is this umbilical artery you see right here. That's what this purple thing is. So the umbilical arteries, one on this side, one on the other side, those branch off of the internal iliac arteries. Shortly after birth, these two umbilical arteries will turn into the median umbilical ligaments. All right, so now that we've gone through the basics, what I want you to do is I want you to review the big picture. Remember, where does oxygenation start? Where does all of that waste product end up? What are the names of the vessels that take that oxygenated blood to the baby's heart? What are the names of the vessels that take the deoxygenated blood out of baby's body? And I also want you to be able to tell me what the postnatal structure is, meaning we have the prenatal term. After baby is born, what does that structure turn into? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I really hope you enjoyed this video and learned something really cool about what your body was like in the womb. Please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.